preparation for my 500-mile hike across the Mojave Desert, first I did some practice hikes. Most notably, in March 2021, I attempted to hike the rugged crest of the Providence Mountains in the central Mojave Desert. It was originally planned to be a 2-day, 16-mile loop hike. I was also trying out my new GoPro, so some of the footage is decidedly experimental. And the intro I thought I'd filmed as I left my car around noon turned out not to have recorded at all. So here you join me about 15 minutes into the hike. Let's try to see if the shoulder-mounted camera footage works okay. This is as much for testing purposes as anything. Watch out these choyas. They have barbed spines, so even so much as touch them with your plant leg, they're going to stick you. Got some nice coarse-grained calcite here. Calcite being the main mineral that limestone is made out of. Calcium carbonate, main ingredient in cement. So of course, where all the rocks are limestone, it's very common to find calcite crystals. That's where they've been recrystallized a bit by hot fluids. Just check my map here. I always talk to myself in the field, but I usually just sort of mumble under my breath. That way other people can't hear me. But since I actually have an audience today, I feel like I need to speak up a little bit. Somehow it seems less crazy to be saying things out loud to a camera than if you're mumbling it to yourself, like some sort of crazy person. Yeah. The best way to not get lost using a map is to know where you are, figure out where the stuff around you is, and then know what the landmarks are before you go there. If you just walk until you're lost and then try and find yourself on the map, it's much harder to find yourself when you're starting from being lost. So it's good to look at the map first. A little bit of an obstacle course with all the cactus here. Beautiful breccia here. See this rock with the angular fragments? This is just broken up limestone chunks in a matrix of calcite. Calcite crystal in there. There's all the white stuff. Huh. This looks like it's probably what I would call a hydrothermal breccia. This is formed when there are hot fluids underground that are under such pressure that they break the rock apart. These are often associated with, they come in above where there's some sort of magma intrusion underground. Magma, as it cools down, often releases a lot of hot fluids, water and CO2, carbon dioxide. And those can, because the magma is super hot, they come off at high pressure and they can break up the surrounding rock. The other thing they often do is they can carry precious minerals with them. Basically at the high temperatures of the magma, these fluids will dissolve all sorts of stuff, including copper, silver, gold. And then when those fluids cool down as they got further away from the magma, those minerals can precipitate back out. So I don't see any obvious valuable minerals here, but there's a big mine near where I parked, the Bonanza King mine, which is I think a big silver mine. Back in the late 19th century, that extracted millions of dollars worth of silver. Looks like it is in fact this canyon up here to the right. It's a little bit narrower and less inviting than these other ones, but this is our chosen route. I'm not really following anyone else's published route or anything like that. This is more of, I was looking at Google Earth, the topo map, and coming up with a good plan. And also, I don't know, I sort of had this idea where I was gonna traverse all the part that was over 1,700 meters elevation. Some little fossils in there, it looks like. See those guys there? Probably some sort of brachiopod or something. I don't know. I'm not really a fossil expert. Some way the rocks are easier than the cactus. a little loose. Oh, this next one's a cat claw bush. I hate cat claw. Maybe I can climb through the dead part. Okay, it's time for the gloves. Thoroughly unglovinated. Let's see if we can get through this dead cat claw location. I could put it in the mount, but I have to stop to get the mount here. I already took away the mount from my experiment charging on the fly, but I definitely can't hold it in that position. We're climbing through the dead cat claw bush. Okay. Cactus everywhere. But you can't really drink water from them anyway. Something like that. Oh. Whoa. Oh, watch my bounce with this plank on it. I don't want to fall into the cactus. Maybe mountain sheep or cactus proof, but I'm not. Those are not choices. Like these guys, I could walk into these and not really hurt myself that much. But the choices have barbed spines. You do not want to mess with those. Stepping on the cactus. Sometimes it's the only way through. I have to double the distance for my cactus avoidance. But at least I gotta pick my route. I'm not constrained to taking the shortest path. This would not be the best place for a straight line mission. Even without the topography. I'll impale myself on the yucca. Get my face into the prickly pear. I also like to watch out for rattlesnakes in a canyon like this. Enough greenery here. It's a little bit more moist than the surrounding areas. Since down in the canyon, that there could be enough rodents to support a rattlesnake population. And it's definitely warm enough this time of year that they could be out and about. You see that after the prickly pear in the middle of the canyon there. This doesn't look great either, to be honest. That's because those are cactus. I think we feel like that is a cactus. Let me look this way. The other side looks okay. Ow! Ow! Ooh, that was it. Now I'm stuck. But not a choice spot, so not a problem. And, prickly pear spines are almost stopped by a layer of jeans. Not quite. Okay, trying out a new video mode, the hack cam. See how this works out. So since I last stopped filming was somewhere down there. Since then I've been trudging up Cactus Hell Canyon. I guess I should have known from the trip reports I've read out of here that it should be the Cactus Strip. I didn't like the way this looked. I decided the high height of the hill looks better, so we're going to try going that way. It'll probably be steeper, but there'll be less cactus, I'm hoping. Ow! Do not like the ow! The cat claw does not use that. Ooh. Okay, actually this is already looking better. Ow!
Still some cactus. Hopefully I don't have to go up any of those cliffs. Well, one nice thing about limestone, it's very rough, it has excellent traction. So I go up steep slopes like this without really worrying too much about losing my grip on my shoes. It would tear your hands up if you weren't wearing gloves. Going to be living pinyon pines. Part of the reason I've always been interested in hiking across the desert, well, it really goes back to my childhood. I grew up in West LA, and the closest nature was, I don't know, 25 miles away or something like that. Oh. And so I always sort of daydreamed about running away on some adventure and just going off hiking away to like the Sierras or to Northern California, where it was going to be greener and more natural than the urban sprawl of Los Angeles. And so I had, I don't know, when I was like 9 or something, I had this set of maps that I annotated with the route I was going to take from Los Angeles up through the Sierras. Never did that. But now I'm a geologist. Specifically, I teach geology at Cal Poly Pomona. And my field of research is I study the granitic rocks of the Mojave Desert, ones that are about 100 million years old, during the Cretaceous period, sort of the last period the dinosaurs lived in before they went extinct. And so I spent a lot of time traipsing around the Mojave. And I think around the time I started working in the Mojave, there was that movie Wild came out about someone hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. And that just struck me as horrible. Like, that trail is so crowded. I thought, well, you know, the Mojave Desert has a lot more quiet wilderness. If you really want to do a wilderness hike, you know, the Southern California part of the Pacific Crest Trail is mostly not in the wilderness area. It's mostly sort of in areas that are, you know, relatively close to the suburban sprawl. Ow. But, oof, if you were to hike, say start, you know, the goal is start from Mexico and head north and stay in the wilderness, you'd be better off staying in the desert. You know, between Mexico and the Sierras, the Pacific Crest Trail, you got about 90% of the way is not in wilderness. Only 10% is. If you were to go through the desert, you could reverse those percentages. Spend 90% of your time in the wilderness, and 10% of your way out of the wilderness. Now, to actually do that, you have to take kind of a circuitous route. Traveling from corner to corner, from one wilderness area to the next, trying to optimize your amount of time and space spent in the wilderness, but yeah, you can get it down to about 10%. 10% non-wilderness. And so that's the plan. Right now I'm actually not entirely sure if I'm in a wilderness area or not. That was not a goal for this trip. This was really just a practice trip. I just chose this because the Providence Mountains are high altitude. So doing it in late March when it's already, I don't know, like 80 degrees out. At least it feels like it's 80. It's supposed to be mid-80s in Kelso. I have some altitude here, so it's a little cooler, but still. My main criteria for this trip was just high altitude. not wilderness in particular. I definitely passed through the Mojave Preserve wilderness a little bit from time to time. So I'm not intentionally breaking this, it's just you don't want it to break off while you're trying to climb over it. This is much better than that awful canyon. Look at that. Definitely getting up here. Not quite to the top yet. I'm probably halfway. I mean to the ridgeline, not to the top. Okay. Well, I'm coming up to a crest. Part of me wants to think I'm getting close to the top of the ridge, but based on the map, I think that's probably not the case. I think I'm just at the top of a little tiny hillock. This looks big because it's had painful cactus all the way up the side. Well, let's see. So we can either continue up this canyon, which looks fairly plausible, or you try to go up on that ridge, which looks foreboding. Might just have to stick in the canyon. That's sort of my original route anyway. It looks like my route has me go to the left of that cliff, because you can see there's that cliff there just to the left of the pass. So I think the plan is to stay to the left of that cliff, and then hopefully once we get up onto the ridgeline we can just go around the back of that other cliff. That's what it looked possible from Google Earth. We'll see if it looks possible on the ground. Some gnarly mountains. See, this is what I'm talking about in terms of calcite crystals. So you can see there, nice shiny surfaces. Those are what we call cleavage surfaces, where the calcite naturally breaks into flat plains. Well, still pushing my way up the mountain here. You see down there is the knoll I climbed over a little bit ago. Got a cave up in the mountain up here. One of the famous attractions of this mountain range is the Mitchell Caverns, which are off that way somewhere, which are a cave that's open to the public. Classic limestone caves, stalactites, stalagmites, all those things. But in the desert, because there's not a lot of water here, they're not very active caves. They're only occasionally drip and form new cave formations. My guess is this cave probably is not a significant sized cave, or it would be on the map. But there's the gap we're heading to up there. Now we're climbing up into this dark fissure in the rock. You can see the valley back down there, getting further down. Although the shade is a relief from the heat, at the same time the impending darkness makes me worry a little bit about how far I'm going to make it today, since I've gone about a mile as the crow flies. I think I was aiming for about 6. Well, to be fair, I've already put in a fair amount of elevation gain. So I've done more than, I'm probably getting close to a third of the way elevation-wise. That's probably not stable. I hope I found a better way down on the side of the mountain. Worst case scenario, I bought some rope. I can always lower the pack down. Cactus is one thing, and rocks are another thing. Cactus plus rocks, oh my god. There's a combination that's way more complicated than I had anticipated. Fortunately, most of my across the Mojave route is lower elevation, where it should be too dry to have quite so many cactus. Making grinding noises makes it easier. At least it feels that way sometimes. Oh, okay. This is one steep mountain. Steep and cactusy. Okay. Things seem to be starting to level out up here. Maybe that's the top. Oh, I guess we'll find out soon. Of course, then the question is, what next? Eventually I have to turn left. Oh, there's a little hole in the rock up there. The other thing I'm starting to worry about is there isn't a flat, non-spiky place around big enough to put a sleeping bag, much less a tent. I might have to sleep leaning against the rock. Well, I think this is the ridgeline. Doesn't look any friendlier on the other side. Oh. There you go. Crest of the Providence Mountains. Woo! Oh. That big broad dome over there is Sima Dome, which is basically a mountain that's been around so long that it's eroded down flat. The rain and elements. Not there's much rain out here now, but there may have been in the past. It's worn it down. Just see the wild horse mesa and some other mesas popping up there to the north. Oh no, what the hell do I have to do here? It looks like, this looks possible. Dangerous. Possible. Maybe not that dangerous. Well, I think it's this way or no way.